Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu was turned to an experienced politician when he was elected as the youngest Prime Minister of Israel in the year 1996. His transition from the captain of an elite Israeli commando unit to a seasoned politician has now spanned over 2 decades. And during the course, he has positioned himself as a shrewd politician, discrediting his opposition and gaining a stronghold both in politics and popular perception. He has not shied from calling himself the protector of Israel, promising stability to his countrymen in the turbulent times it is in now. But all is not well with Netanyahu. Take a look at this report.
Almost a decade ago, Benjamin Netanyahu, then the leader of opposition in Israel, went ahead with a vociferous campaign against Prime Minister Ehud Olmert, seeking his resignation on grounds of corruption. And 10 years later, life seems to be coming full circle for Bibi. Israeli police have recommended an indictment for the commando-turned-prime minister in multiple graft cases. Netanyahu has been charged with asking for positive coverage from a news publication with a tacit understanding of reining in a rival firm. He and his wife Sarah are also accused of receiving gifts to the tune of $280,000 from Hollywood mogul Arnon Milchan. He has also allegedly been showered with luxury commodities like cigars, jewels and designer clothes from Australian billionaire James Packer. Netanyahu, on his part, remains defiant and has brushed aside these grave allegations. In a 10-minute-long televised address, he made his intentions amply clear.
להמלצות הללו אין מעמד במשטר דמוקרטי. אינני אומר זאת בהתרסה. אני אומר זאת כציון של עובדת יסוד בדמוקרטיה שלנו. ישראל היא מדינת חוק, ועל פי החוק, לא המשטרה היא שקובעת, אלא רק הגורמים המשפטיים המוסמכים.
Netanyahu has earned the epithet of the magician for his ability to tide over the most difficult challenges that come his way. It remains to be seen whether he will manage to pull a rabbit out of the hat this time around as well. Bureau Report, WION.
Joining me live on the program is Daniele Pagani, is a correspondent joining us from Amman. Good evening, Daniele. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu has described the report of allegations of bribery and fraud. He said it's full of cheese, it's full of holes, just like the Swiss cheese. Of course, he's heading forward for a possible indictment, but it's all up to the Attorney General to come out with those details. What possibly could happen from here on? Is this the end of his political career? As the opposition has been pointing out, the Netanyahu era is over.
Good evening to you, Jessica. Well, I think it is really too early to say, but if I may, I personally think this is not the end of his political career. Remember that the prosecutor now needs to decide if there is enough evidence to formally charge him and therefore to proceed and go to trial. This is not happening, and these alone could take months before it happens. So remember that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu still has more than 1 year to go before the next election. He made it very clear that he does not intend to step down. Of course, the opposition is trying to bank on these suggestions that the police made after a 1-year-long investigation, but also Prime Minister Netanyahu prepared his audience to this moment. And as the package that we played correctly pointed out, he survived other similar implications of corruption throughout the year. I would say between 10 and 15 times he was accused of being corrupted and of misconduct, but he managed to remain in power. So, no, it's too early to say that this is the end of his political career. He will not step down unless he will be forced by the parliament to step down, but that is very much unlikely to happen because, as any other person on earth, he will be innocent until proven guilty.
Absolutely, and the court of law would decide that, but with that the AG will have to start the procedure of indictment or even think about the procedure of indictment if it has to go further. But what could happen from here on? Of course, we're not looking at a possible action or repercussions here on because they're not, evidence does not suggest that, but the police clearly says that they've got enough evidence for his indictment procedure to be started now.
Yes, now the case is in the hands of the prosecutor, which in this case we have to remember is also former Netanyahu's aide. This doesn't mean that he will have a favorable way of looking at the case, but certainly it's a fact that we have to take into account. So now it's on the table of the prosecutor, who will need to examine thoroughly all the evidence presented after a 1-year-long investigation and decide if there is enough evidence to formally charge the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. On the political side of it, the opposition will definitely try to use these against Prime Minister Netanyahu. He is also not enjoying the best support when it comes from the people as of now. Remember that Israelis, especially voters in Israel, do not like the fact that the Prime Minister is charged or possibly could be charged on corruption. So these are all challenges, but again, as I said, the prosecutor can take months in order to decide whether there are enough evidence to proceed to a formal case, and then the formal case will begin and it will follow all the legal steps. It is very much likely that nothing is going to happen anyway before the elections, the general elections happening in 2019.
We'll leave it at that. Thank you, Daniel Pagani, for joining us from Amman and giving us all those details.